2021, and it's 7:00 p.m. My name is Jennifer Grace. I'm the Public Utility Law Judge assigned from the Maryland Public Service Commission to handle this matter. We're here for a public hearing in case number 9663, which is captioned in the matter of the application of CPV Backbone Solar LLC for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct a 175 megawatt solar photovoltaic generating facility in Garrett County, Maryland. This facility is proposed to be constructed at 5187 Kitzmiller Road in Kitzmiller, Maryland. The purpose of this meeting this hearing is twofold. First, it's to provide information to the public about the project as proposed. And second, it's to hear any comments from the public regarding the project. This is the first of two public comment hearings. The second one is to be held on October 19th, 2021, and it's unclear at this time whether or not that one is going to be in person or virtual. We should have an update on that after in the beginning of September. I'm going to start with the parties. I'm going to ask each party to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves. I'm then going to ask the applicant to give a presentation on the project. And then after that, I'll give further instructions for the public to make comment. So we'll start with the applicant, Mr. Bugelmans.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And thanks everyone for joining tonight on WebEx and YouTube. My name is David Bugelmans. I'm with the law firm Gordon Feinblatt, and I represent the applicant in this case, CPV Backbone Solar LLC. I think you may be on mute, Your Honor.
It's been a while since I did one of these hearings. Thank you. We can move on to the Office of People's Counsel.
Hi, this is Fred Hoover. I'm with the Maryland Office of People's Counsel.
The Office of People's Counsel represent residential ratepayers, and they review the testimony of the parties and can submit testimony themselves. Is there anything else I need to say about your role in this proceeding?
No, just that we routinely review the applications by the applicants and also the information provided by the executive agencies in the so-called 7 secretaries letter as part of the process.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. We'll move on to PPRP.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Sandra McLemore. I represent the Power Plant Research Program, which is a part of the Department of Natural Resources, and we provide a comprehensive review of the project for 7 reviewing state agencies, and we will file that at the time of direct testimony. Also tonight, I have with me Bob Sadinsky, who will be, if it's okay with you, would like to provide a short summary of our process after the applicant provides its summary.
Yes, ma'am, that would be great. And welcome, Mr. Sadinsky. Do we have someone from staff?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff. Staff will look at all aspects of this project as it pertains to whether the project is in the public interest. We file testimony, we'll file pleadings, looking at the impact of the facilities on the electric grid operated by the local utility. We'll be looking about environmental impacts and impacts that affect neighbors, anything that does affect whether this would be a project that is in the best interest of Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. Before I turn back to the applicant, I will note that the application and any filings by the parties are available to the public. They're available on the Maryland Public Service Commission website. You can search on the left side of the Commission's homepage. If you put in case number 9663 in the search box on the left, there's also a copy of the application available for viewing by the public in Garrett County at the Department of Planning and Land Management, the Permit and Inspections Division. Mr. Bugelmans, I'll turn to you for a description of the project.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm joined tonight by Felicia Bellows, the Vice President of Renewable Development at CPV, the developer of the project, as well as Dane Bauer and Melissa Hall from H&B Solutions, who are 2 environmental consultants for the project. Ms. Bellows is going to provide the presentation tonight. I'm going to share the slides and run through them. So let me pull them up here. It's one moment. Okay, are the parties able to see the presentation here?
Yes.
Okay. With that, I'll pass the virtual microphone over to Ms. Bellows.
Okay, so David, if you could go to the second slide, please.
Sure.
So my name is Felicia Bellows. I'm a vice president at Competitive Power Ventures, or CPV as we are known. And, I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about the project. But in order to tell you a little bit about the project, I need to also tell you who we are, who Competitive Power Ventures, or CPV, is. First of all, we are a well-known premier North American developer of power projects, both from the perspective of conventional technologies such as natural gas, all the way into renewables, being wind and solar. We also own and manage these facilities. We have also, over time, developed for our own account, as well as to sell to other parties. And in some of those cases, we have stayed on as asset managers for those facilities. And in fact, in some facilities, we've been just hired as asset managers because we are well known in the industry for doing that. We have partnered with a number of companies throughout our history. We're a more than 21-year-old company. And right now we are partnered with OPC Energy. They also are a developer, owner, and manager of power facilities. So what we do is we provide responsible energy by working with our communities and our partners and to deal with all of their energy challenges. And we use cutting edge technologies, and that's what we'll be doing here also at CPV Backbone Solar. Next slide, please, David. Here you can see what we've done over time. Since 2010, you can see that we brought online 5.2 gigawatts of both natural gas and wind generation. And since we came into creation, we put on the grid 21.5 gigawatts of power generation. So, clearly all across the country, we have, put power projects successfully into operation, and those power projects are still operating today. Next slide, please. And this is the other thing that I think is the big takeaway, is that when we go into communities, we focus on working with the communities and making sure that there is an overall buy-in to what we're doing, not just during the development, but also during operations. CPV Backbone will not be our first generating facility in Maryland. We have an operating generating facility. It's a natural gas facility in St. Charles County. And that facility is a 745 megawatt facility, and it's been in operation since, I believe, 2017. So it is successful. The community there is very happy with our, what we are doing in the community. And you can see also here from some other communities where we're invested, those communities, are really, they feel supported and are happy with what we've been able to do there. So next slide, please. So now we're going to turn to the power project itself, CPV Backbone Solar. Next slide, please, David. So this is our quick fact sheet. Our project is a 175 megawatt solar facility. It, in terms of dollar investment, translates into more than $200 million investment into the project. Our timeline is that we started developing the project in early 2020. We hope to start construction in the first quarter of 22, and we then would follow up with being online by around September of 23. We are located north of Kitzmiller in sort of the western corner of Maryland in Garrett County. We are on a former Vindex Arch coal mining site. It's a site that was significantly disturbed in the past. It has had a couple of surface mining activities, therefore, is my understanding, in the past. And this is something that really that CPV likes to do. We would like to work on sites that have already been disturbed so that we're not going into a situation where you're looking at either something that hasn't been disturbed, such as ag, and making changes there. So this really is our ideal type of site. Moreover, if you look at from an electrical connection perspective, it's sort of an ideal situation in that there is an on-site transmission line, so we don't have to put in new transmission line. We are going to simply put a substation there and be able to connect into that substation, that line that goes through the site, and I'll be showing you that in a second. From a permitting side, it is involving all the agencies, both from the county and the state and the federal level. I will go through in a moment how we've worked through and all the different studies that we've been doing and the agencies that we've been working with. One of the things that I think that we do really well as CPV is that we go in first when we have a development that we want to undertake. We check in with the county. We make sure they're comfortable with what we're talking about doing. And then we work with agencies to make sure that, is this going to work? What are the particular things that we need to be sensitive to? How can we work with the agencies and the community to make sure that that the project is going to work? And we'll walk through a couple of those in a second. So next slide. So here you have a picture in pink of our project. That's an outline. And there you have the 138 kV transmission line that goes through the site. That is, again, it's an ideal situation and you don't have it very often. Next slide, please. And this is what I was talking about. These are the different permits, authorizations, or studies that we have undertaken so far. And you will see here that we are at the second from the bottom there, the Maryland Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. That's what we're here tonight to discuss, and we're in the midst of that. And we all along the way have tried to work, as I mentioned, with the different agencies and make sure that we're addressing their concerns ahead of time, even before we filed for the CPCN. We tried to get those concerns addressed so that we went in and had a little bit of smoother sailing, if you will, from the perspective of issues that might come up along the way. So David, next slide, please. Here's our site plan. I know that's a little difficult to see, but one of the things that I want to point out here is that there is an area that's sort of in the aqua, if you look down towards the bottom, and that is a wildlife corridor. One of the things that in working with the agencies, we did discover that there were some, that particular area was an area that the agencies desired for us to avoid. And what we have done is move things around on our site plan to avoid that. Sometimes those changes are difficult to do, and other times not so much. But all of the permitting process is one where we are trying to we move things around, trying to keep our overall size so at the same level that we go in at, so that we can build efficiently in a cost-effective manner, but at the same time with, again, trying to work with the agencies and be sensitive to all the different things that come up along the way and as part of development. Next slide, please. Project bennies. Overall, the infrastructure investment, as I mentioned, $200 million. What that does in terms of local tax base is it does grow the local tax base. That $200 million will generate property taxes each year, which will be going to Garrett County and something that they can, reinvest in their community. Also, during construction, we have about 14 to 18 months of construction typically for a project of this size. And, in terms of construction workers, we'll have about 150 to 200 at peak during the construction phase. And that means that all of those folks are going to be, staying in the local hotels. They're going to be eating in the local restaurants, and they're going to be going to the Walmart or what have you, and, pumping their money into the community. In addition, not just in Garrett County and in that area, but in a wider area, we have made an effort to use Maryland-based engineering groups and consultants to work on this project. Next slide, please. And finally, from an environmental benefit perspective, I mentioned that we are repurposing a strip mine, and which we think is a huge positive, and again, what we like to do. And it's adding to Garrett County's energy diversity. It's also expanding the renewable resources in the state and overall. And in terms of what the electric output will be, it's enough to power about 30,000 average Maryland households, and that's a little bit more than the entire Garrett County. And the interesting fact in terms of CO2 emissions, we're going to be reducing those to equivalent to removing 50,000 average cars from the road. So that's our project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bellows. That concludes our presentation, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Bellows and Mr. Bugelmans, for a very good presentation. I understand that some folks are having trouble logging on to WebEx in order to see this hearing. This is being streamed live on YouTube, and there are some folks watching it on YouTube. So I'm hoping that that's a good alternative if any one of the parties are unable to log in. I will turn now to PPRP for your presentation.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will turn it over to Robert Sadinsky with PPRP.
Thank you, Ms. McLemore. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay,
Yes.
I didn't hear anything. So again, Bob Sadinsky, Maryland Department of Natural Resources Power Plant Research Program, otherwise known as PPRP. And I'm the manager for this project, and as such, I'll be coordinating with the 7 reviewing state agencies to evaluate the CPCN application, assessment report, and recommend CPCN licensing conditions to the Public Service Commission. These reviewing state agencies include Department of Natural Resources, Planning, Commerce, Environment, Transportation, Agriculture, and the Maryland Energy Administration. PPRP will be filing written direct testimony in our comprehensive project assessment report on October 13th, and this will be available for the public's review on the Public Service Commission's website. At this time, I just wanted to provide some short comments regarding this review process for this case. As just explained by Ms. Bellows, this is a unique site. When operational, the project could bring 175 megawatts of solar and may provide approximately 13.2% of the solar renewable energy credits for Maryland's RPS in 2023. Simply put, it could provide electricity to, as she stated, about 30,000 homes per year. The applicant has demonstrated a commitment to provide needed information, which is instrumental in allowing an expeditious review. Also, the applicant has worked with PPRP, MDE representatives, and Garrett County to provide access to the site to investigate potential impacts to environmental and natural resources and provide information necessary to consider viable approaches that would avoid or mitigate these impacts. But there are 2 areas of potentially significant environmental impacts: impacts to rare, threatened, and dangerous species and other natural resources in specific areas on the site, as mentioned by Ms. Bellows, and impacts from construction on steep slopes related to stormwater management, particularly given the logging, which will cover approximately 500 acres of the site. The applicant has stated this project will require an expeditious review to allow the applicant to continue with construction through March of 22 and then begin operation in September 23. To meet these deadlines, the applicant has indicated that it will need to begin logging by November 2021. This timing is necessary to comply with time-of-year requirements, to protect local bat species, and to assure that problems that may arise due to potential inclement weather conditions in Garrett County can be managed. There are a number of challenges and commitments to successfully meet the ambitious schedule, and the applicant's continued proactive response to the reviewing state agencies' concerns is imperative. To date, the applicant has agreed to meet certain milestones pertaining to planning its innovative stormwater management for logging and other construction activities. Backbone Solar representatives are working closely with both the county and MDE regarding this matter. In addition, the applicant is working with DNR to identify and avoid critical resource areas to assure the RT species and other natural resources will be protected, again, as indicated by Ms. Bellows. Given the applicant's diligence to date, PPRP and reviewing state agencies have been able to review the project more expeditiously than would have been able otherwise. Also, the proactive steps taken by the applicant prior to filing its CPCN application was crucial and necessary for PPRP to be able to carry out its comprehensive review of the project in such an abbreviated timeframe. Backbone Solar's pre-application efforts to coordinate the proposed project with reviewing federal, state, and local agencies was vital. In conclusion, PPRP continues to work with the other reviewing state agencies to identify any other potential negative components of the proposed project. In addition, PPRP will consider the public comments provided as part of the Public Service Commission's public participation process, including this public hearing. And as noted before, PPRP's assessment will be publicly available on the Commission's website after its file on October 13th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Studinsky and Ms. McLemore. All right, now we're moving on to the portion of the hearing where we want to hear from the public any comments about this project. I received a request in advance from Mava Lore requesting to speak. Do we have Mava Lore on the hearing at this time?
I'm Victoria Leonard, and I'm a colleague of Mava's, and she actually signed me up.
Excellent. Go ahead, Ms. Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. And hello, members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. My name is Victoria Leonard, and I'm the Political and Legislative Director for the Baltimore Washington Laborers District Council, which is an affiliate of the Laborers International Union of North America, or LIUNA for short. We represent more than 5,000 construction workers in Maryland. Our members are not employed directly by utilities, rather, they work for construction companies hired by the utilities. For decades, LIUNA members in Maryland have built the energy infrastructure that residents and businesses rely on. In exchange, they've received middle-class wages, affordable health insurance for their families, and a retirement benefit that allows them to age with dignity. And because LIUNA members live in or near the communities where they work, they spend their earnings in Maryland at Maryland businesses, and they pay local and state taxes. However, this relationship is at risk as renewable power replaces conventional power. The modest middle-class wages and benefits of utility construction workers is being replaced by a low-wage and limited benefits business model. It's been our experience that if left unchecked, workers and their families will be collateral damage in the energy transition. It's also our experience that thoughtful leadership from regulators, local governments, and developers can mitigate these harms. In fact, the General Assembly rose to the challenge earlier this year in Maryland and passed a new law that requires the Public Service Commission to consider in its oversight activities the maintenance of fair and stable labor standards for affected workers. That includes the approval of certificates to build power plants such as CPV's proposed solar project in Garrett County. And as Ms. Bellows mentioned, the project's going to create between 150 and 200 jobs. But nearly all of those jobs that it's going to create are going to be during the construction phase. And that's, as Ms. Bellows said, is once these facilities become operational, they really don't require a whole lot of workers. Moreover, it's been LIUNA's experience that solar and wind developers oftentimes use contractors who rely on travelers from outside the local area. As Ms. Bellows mentioned, they come in and they stay at local hotels. It is also LIUNA's experience that when local workers are used, they're often supplied by temporary staffing agencies and are paid wages much lower than what skilled construction workers can earn in the local labor market. One only needs to look at the solar projects in Virginia to see this low-cost model in effect. So to meet the requirements of the new law regarding consideration of labor standards for affected workers, we at LIUNA are urging the Commission to condition approval of this project on the following actions. Number one, the Commission should attach quarterly construction employment reporting requirements that track the rate of employment of Maryland residents compared to non-state residents. Number two, the Commission should require CPV to provide a detailed staffing plan, including efforts the company has made to work with Maryland-based building trades unions or to utilize community workforce agreements that set uniform wages and benefits for construction workers on the project. Number three, the Commission should deny this application if the staffing plan relies on temporary staffing agencies or independent contractors who are 1099 employees. Staffing agencies and workers misclassified as independent contractors can suppress Maryland's construction wages. Number four, the Commission should ask CPV to identify how the project's construction wage and benefits level compared to the state's prevailing wage in Garrett and nearby counties, so that the Commission has a benchmark against which to measure the wage and benefit levels of the project. Number five, the Commission should deem any labor standards that are voluntarily executed between CPV and a labor union through a community workforce agreement as meeting the legislative intent of the new law. It's our position at LIUNA that solar projects can meet the state's clean energy goals as well as create quality jobs for local workers. This can be accomplished by ensuring compliance with the new statutory requirements to consider labor standards for workers on utility projects. Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to comment, and I hope you will consider our thoughts at LIUNA. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Leonard. I don't see any other members of the public on the hearing at this time. If you are, please speak up. I wanted to again announce that there will be a second public hearing on October 19th, 2021. Also, parties can file written comment. Anyone, public, can file written comments. They should be sent directly to the Maryland Public Service Commission, attention Andrew Johnston, Executive Secretary, 6 St. Paul Street, 16th floor, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. They must reference case number 9663, so the comments will make it into the correct file. And those comments are due by October 19th, 2021. Do any of the parties have any other matters that we need to take under consideration? Okay. Thank you very much for everyone appearing today. I will make note of all of the comments and consider them when making a decision in this case. And I hope that everyone will continue to follow the filings in this case and other comments that are provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we off the record, Your Honor? I hear you.